Devolution, a show to empower, enlighten, and entertain divas and those that love us. Standing on our own 2 feet and bringing on
that it ends abruptly. Josh said he was going to fix that, and he didn't, that stinker. So welcome to the Devolution Show. Today is June 19th, the day after Juliana Tacey's birthday. So happy birthday, Juliana Tacey. Does she look any older?
No. Thanks. Thank you very much, Deb.
You're welcome. So we had 2 birthdays this weekend. One Stevie's, and I got him a watch, and he called and showed it to me, and it was so cute. And Brad said he couldn't get it off of him. It was perfect. So, yes. And the other one was Errol, the oldest son. Errol turned 36. Yeah. He's getting up there. So happy birthday to you guys, too. But we're in studio tonight, and it's going to be a really interesting show. And if you want to call in, that number is 989-402-5414. The phone lines are not open yet, but they will be in about 10 minutes. Also available in the chat room on the app and on your computer. So I have my phone right here. If you do have a question you don't want to call, please feel free to find me in the chat room. Okay, so here we go. So Linda and I met probably about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, about that.
And on Facebook, we belong to a couple of the same groups. And I think our first telephone conversation was like an hour and a half.
It was.
It was really fun. So I'm so happy that you made it up here tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. So tell us about you and your background and what you do now and why you're so passionate about it.
I actually started out in the early 80s, so I'm dating myself, as an RN, and spent 17 years in the neonatal intensive care unit at what was then Saginaw General. And loved the babies, but eventually wanted out of the hospital setting and wanted to go home and raise kids for a while. So I left in 97 and raised kids for a little bit. Actually had a super successful jewelry business. And my husband ends up having a little outpatient surgery and getting toxic shock. And they say he's going to pass away. So now I got to get a JOB. So I'm in the ICU with him. This is so interesting. I love how everything is so synchronous. I'm in the ICU. And I am thinking, I got to get a job. And the only thing that I have a license for is to be an RN. But I have let my license lap because I had no plans of going back. And in the world of RN nursing, if you have about, I think, 3 times where you don't do your CEUs, your continuing hours. And then if you let that lapse, you have to reboard. So now I've been out of nursing for, 10 plus years. And I call my mom from the ICU and say, I always kept my nursing license in the same place. Can you go read me the date on it? She comes back and reads me the date. I have 72 hours to do CEUs. So I do 25 CEUs in the ICU on a computer, and my parents drive the certificates down to East Lansing. And when I had that in hand, I had less than 12 hours to spare.
Wow.
And so I have my RN degree back. So because he did live, he was not supposed to. Every doctor said that he wasn't supposed to, but prayer, and more prayer, right? Yeah. and intention. And so he had a long recovery, though, and so I got a job for a while with Children's Special Health Care through Saginaw County. But then my son, I swear, the week that I took that job, my younger son, who's now 23, who was 11 then, says he doesn't feel good and passes out.
Oh, no.
And this goes from that morning to multiple times a day. And so he is now passing out, multiple times a day in his chair at school. So they're calling me every single day. So he has something called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. They call it POTS for short. And it's a high-low heart rate issue. And so I needed to come up with something that would help him because he was on some really serious medications. He was 11. He was on beta blockers. He was on blood pressure medications. He was on medication to retain fluid that affect your kidneys, and he's 11. And so in searching for something else, I end up taking him to a doctor who does the type of scanning and biofeedback I do now, which is considered quantum biofeedback. And he does a scan and says, this is what's wrong with your son, which I already knew. And I said, yep, that's exactly it. And then he said, here, he's going to take these little drops and these little cell salts, all natural, homeopathic, with frequencies in it, right? And the nurse in me went, right.
Right, yes.
And I gave it to him. And he went for 2 weeks without one arrhythmia that first go round. And then it was 3 weeks. And then it was a month. So then I wanted to know what that was. And that was really the inception of my having my own practice doing that type of biofeedback. So my only block was that we had lost a home. We had, we were in a rental place and with a child, an older one, going to college soon. And I need this $25,000 machine. So I called and asked if they had any type of loans or anything. And Lee Woolley, who was always my mentor and he was the inventor of my SpectraVision, said to me, when you are called to something, in my experience, it's going to happen very quickly. And I just went, yeah, right. Okay, great. So I heard the calling, I'm in. And he said, well, so we'll see you soon. And not even 3 days later, I'm getting my hair cut. And I'm saying that, the hairdresser's saying to me, what do you want to do? And I'm saying, I really want to do this work, but I can't afford this machine, blah, blah, blah. And she says, well, we'll back you and you can have an office upstairs and we'll help you get it. And so I had that machine and was set up, within weeks of when I had said,
Isn't
I hear
something?
The calling. Yeah. So I started there. And then the bulk of my business now is something called QNRT, Quantum Neurological Reset Therapy. And it's because my mentor, Lee Woolley, was part of bringing that work to a point where it could be replicated. And they just called a bunch of us who trained together over years, and they wanted to see if the work could be replicated. So I went for a weekend. They did the process to us on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and sent us home. And I have a pretty difficult background. I left home when I was 16 years old. I spent a lot of my adult life in therapy. And so I was like the perfect candidate to see what would happen. And I go home and I felt fabulous. I felt like I had been to a retreat where you go home all filled up. And you get home and you're thinking, wow, man, when's it going to wear off, right? And I got home and it didn't wear off.
Nice.
And probably 3 weeks in, my kids started to say, who took your irritable button? You seem so calm. You seem a lot more like you're happier. I said, I think I know who did that. I think it was Dr. Woolley and Dr. Turner. So I went and I trained for 2 years to do QNRT, and that really is the bulk of what I do today.
Wow, isn't that amazing? See, you were just meant to do this.
I was.
Obviously.
I totally was.
I love when I love synchronicity as well, when stuff, you just happen to be in the right place so many times there.
Exactly.
And if your husband would have been sick 3 days later than what he was, you would have had to test for your boards again.
Yep.
Wow, that's a good story. Thank you for sharing that with us. So not only did that open you up to what you're doing now, but it probably opened your eyes to the law of attraction as well.
Yeah, my patients, it's funny because I would talk to my patients about, how I thought that they should manifest things in their life. And I kept getting asked, are you one of those secret people? Are you one of those secret people? And I didn't know what it was. And so finally when that movie came out, I watched the movie and I was like, after that I said, I am one of those people because I just naturally was teaching the law of attraction. And honestly, that is kind of my superpower is manifestation. Like I can just decide something's going to happen. And then it will happen. I just have confidence, and it's
and
like
that's the part that a lot
everywhere.
of people miss is the confidence that it's going to happen.
You just have to wait.
Yes, I was always taught I could do anything. My parents just raised me like that, and I've done a lot of things. But I raised my children even more powerfully than I was raised, and they just are like that. They say they're going to do something, and it's like, yeah, right, and poof, it happens. That's just how they are. And I was down visiting my youngest one a couple weeks ago, and we're not alone that much, and we were, because the wife and the baby, and he and I were by ourselves, and he said, Mom, what's this that you're teaching I see on Facebook? And I said, law of attraction. And I said, I've always kind of done it, but I got certified to teach it now. And he goes, well, what is it? And I told him, he goes, I do that. And I said, I know you do. Why didn't you ever say it? And I said, because I didn't want you to put a name on it, Mike. I said, you just do it naturally. And I think that's how our evolution is going to go.
Oh, yeah. So energy medicine or energy-related medicine, if everything is energy...
Exactly.
We can manipulate anything.
That's
we
right.
should be able to walk through the wall. And the reason that we can't do it is because we believe we can't.
That's right.
And so we literally can conjure up. This is a stage. This is a made-up dream of and we like to share, so we share with other people in this reality in our play that we're having. But I'm always telling my patients that it's like everybody has their own movie, right? Mm-hmm. And you are the writer, you are the producer, you are the editor, you can hire and fire your actors because we like community, right? Mm-hmm. But it's at the end of the day, you pick your theme. And so if my theme is a 60s love fest and your theme is, a horror flick or speed, doesn't mean that you're better than me or I'm better than you because I have a different theme. It just means that we're not in the same theme.
Right.
And so we come and go from one another's lives because we can switch it up anytime we want to. And so we just enjoy having these experiences together. But it really is our movie, our stage, our reality.
Right.
What a lot of us do and what QNRT is a lot about is coming back to yourself. Because a lot of us spend time so if we all have a movie, we all have a theater, right? So think of the most beautiful, majestic theater that you have. So most of us spend our time in other people's theaters pointing out what's wrong. There's popcorn on your floor. There's a cup over there.
Yes.
While ours is falling apart and dilapidated, right? And ours is like, the windows are blown out and we're over there telling the people. So if you want beauty in your life, if you want to be well, if you want to be, have it all, you have to make your theater the majestic. And then everybody flocks to that because they just want some of that. And then it's sharing. Then they say, how did you do that? I want some of the same thing. And then you can say, well, this is what I learned. This is what I know. And you can help other people calm.
Right.
But,
that's
to
a really
pick
nice
apart
way
where
to
other people are isn't helpful.
No. And that's exactly right. And so we can't blame our circumstances or the way we feel or on anybody else. We can't count on anybody else for our happiness. And that's what the theater is all about. Yeah. It all comes from within. That's right.
All
That's
healing's a
right.
return to self-love. That's
right.
on my website. All healing is a return to self-love. Who did we come in here to be? And who are we being now? And what we do is QNRT is based on the idea that when we have traumas in our life, they register in the brain. So, for instance, so I'm 3 years old and I fall off my bike and it scares the bejeebers out of me. And so it's likely that that's going to register in the brainstem, fight or flight, the frustrated, angry, grieving, guilty area of our brain. And so that starts what we call in QNRT a relay. So our brain wants to keep us safe and protected and happy as possible. And so it registers that. And if you looked at a CAT scan, you can actually